Hello everyone, my name is Misha Quatra and I am here to take you through the section of verbal ability, which is also very commonly known as the section of English. So now here in all the videos, whenever we'll be rolling out any video, what we will do is we'll pick one topic and we'll talk about that topic in great detail. We'll try to cover all the aspects of that topic, but you also have to understand while doing competitive exams that you can't do everything. Okay, so you need to have a very rational mind, or you need to have a very rational approach. You have to figure out some way that what content is important and what content you can ignore, right? So once you start analyzing all the past year papers, you will realize that whenever you are doing any topic of grammar, your approach should be to understand how this particular topic comes in your exams, not how you were taught in schools. In schools, it was very much based on the theory part. They used to tell us that, okay, this is the definition of your topic, and then there are these many nouns, these many pronouns, these many verbs. So there the emphasis was on a very different part, right? But now the entire focus has changed and it has come to how do you use those nouns in your sentences, how do you represent those verbs in your sentences in the correct way, right? So this is a very big fundamental change and we have to internalize and we have to normalize it as soon as possible, and that will happen only if we have an open mind, and secondly if we are open to practicing more. Okay, so this is what you have to keep in mind. So having said that, now before actually diving into the topic of today, I have an introduction part for you, and I would want you to introduce you to certain things. So the first thing that we have to note is that how this section actually looks in your exam, like how it is actually split in your exam. So this section can come in three ways. First being your reading comprehensions. Yes, you heard it right, reading comprehensions. They must be your favorite from the school. Why? Because you were not supposed to do any practice beforehand. You were just going to sit in the exam and then the passage was right in front of you. It was like an open book test, one open paragraph for you, and then you have to mark the answers. Very easy. Yes, nothing is going to change even now. You will be having one part of reading and then you will have to comprehend it by giving the answers. You have to tell the examiner that you have understood the passage. You have to show that your comprehension skills are completely correct. When I'm saying this word comprehension, I mean ki you know how to, understand the passage. You can understand the passage. You can then answer the questions also related to it. You have to show that to the examiner. So reading comprehensions is that part where everything will be given to you. You just have to find the answers. But that doesn't mean that we are not going to practice it in this course. We are going to practice them also. We are also going to discuss several approaches to them, several different ways to approach them, how to ace them. Okay, so that should be your scope too, because you know that and reading comprehensions are going to come. So there is no point of ignoring them, right? And also in school, you were just asked a question. You were not given four very similar looking options. But here, you will be given very, very, very similar looking options. And trust me, you will have a very hard time pinpointing the correct answer if you haven't practiced enough, if you don't know the exact approaches. And if you mark your answer 1% here or there, you're not only going to lose mark, you are also going to be graded negatively. So that is something that you really want to ignore. So it's better that we try to understand that how reading comprehensions can be aced. Then comes your vocabulary part. So vocabulary is nothing but your knowledge of words, how many words you know, how many words you can, fiddle with. That's what vocabulary is. So you'll have to go through the word list, you'll have to go through the antonyms, synonyms, prefix, suffix, everything. Why? Because if you will leave vocabulary till the very end, if you will say, okay, I have one night and I'll pull an all-nighter and I'll do all the words, that won't really fetch you results. Maybe you will be able to read all the words once, but you won't be able to retain their meaning. So vocabulary is built over different things. It's built over different activities. You have to read, you have to listen, you have to do your own research if you want to build your vocabulary. Okay, it can't be, injected into your brain in one night or in a very short span, because it's built over a time period. So you have to give that time period. So now, then comes the fundamentals of grammar. So that is one thing that we can improve. Theory is available for fundamentals of grammar, complete theory, questions, everything is available. You can actually practice this one section and actually improve in 2 months, 3 months. So we have to, our preparation is supposed to be, it's supposed to include all the 3 parts: reading comprehensions, vocabulary, fundamentals of grammar, in equal measures. We don't have to ignore any section here. We have to cover all the 3 parts very nicely, very properly. We have to pre-plan in advance. I'll also come to the planning part, that how you can plan your day or how you can plan your preparation days. Maybe in the next video, at least we should be done with one particular part, and then we'll move to the planning part, right? Doing these, after looking at these 3 sections, we have to see that how do they look in our exams, right? So if I have done the entire section of fundamentals of grammar, what kind of questions are they going to ask me? They're going to ask you error based questions. They are going to give you some sentences, and then they'll ask you to edit the sentences in such a way that they become error free. So you have done that, you have done editing, you have done omitting in your schools. So when we were doing editing, what our main job was to find an error in the sentence that is actually given. The complete sentence is given, everything is given to you. You just have to pinpoint that what is wrong, and you have to give a suitable replacement also. In omission, there were 2 things. You had to do 2 things. There were 2 steps. You had to tell that where the problem is, where you have to insert the word, and what is that word. So you were supposed to provide for 2 things. So such kind of questions can come. Then we have rearrangement. So now rearrangements in school, they were pretty easy. How? Because you just had one single sentence and you were supposed to rearrange it. That was just, jumbled, and you were supposed to rearrange in a proper way, in a meaningful way. Okay. But now you will be dealing with para jumbles. So what para jumbles are? Paragraph would be jumbled. One particular paragraph would be jumbled. You have to put that paragraph in a proper sequence, in a sequence that makes sense, that adds sense to the paragraph, makes it that is also making it coherent. So then there are different approaches to it that we have to see. Then sentence improvement. So the basic problem with sentence improvement type of questions is that you have to but that they're going to be very minor details, the minor problems. There won't be cases when the problem is visible to the naked eyes very clearly. So you'll think, okay, this is fine also, this works also based on our intuition, but somewhere there would be a minor problem, and with practice you'll be able to detect those problems easily. So then next, the word is cloze test. It looks like a very fancy word. It looks like that these questions are going to be really, really fancy, but no, we have been doing cloze test since we were in class 1 or 2 maybe, right? You have been doing your gap fillings, you have been doing your fill in the blanks, fill ups. So cloze test is nothing but fill in the blanks or fill ups. That's it. That's what you are expected to do. You are supposed to fill the blanks in the most appropriate way. Then we have vocabulary, synonyms, antonyms. I just mentioned vocabulary earlier also. So vocabulary is something that I can't really discuss right now. We'll have to go through different word list to actually, increase our power of vocabulary. Then we have reading comprehensions. Now it's our time to actually move to the topic of the day, which is articles. So now you must be thinking that we know articles. Articles is a very, very basic concept and we can actually ignore it. But trust me, you don't want to ignore any step, because all these steps are very important when we are building something. and articles is one of the foundation, and it's not as simple as it looks because there are layers to it, and our job is to unravel all these layers one by one properly, making sure that as I move to the next part, I know the first part by heart. Okay, that is going to be our job number 1 in this section. So now if you think that you are on that side of the bridge where you know everything about articles, very good, great. What you have to do is you have to take this class as a revision. You have to use this class to brush up all the basics so that you don't have to read it anywhere else. This will just do the work for you. And then you have to take this class as if you are tying the loose ends, because this concept has very deep roots, so we have to make sure that there are no loose ends, right? And for those who think that they don't really know about this particular topic and they have forgotten, so they can take this class as a completely new class for themselves, right? They can start from the scratch. Please don't be scared from starting from the scratch. That is never the problem. Okay, so our first job is to understand as to what articles are. Okay, so articles, how do they help us? I'll just show you the complete slide. Yeah, how do the articles help us? Now articles, they basically modify the noun for us. What do? They modify the noun. So if I'm saying, for example, I'm using a and my noun is boy. So call a boy. Suppose you were sitting in a class and your teacher told you, call a boy from the next class. So she meant that you can call any boy. She's not particularly telling you, okay, call this particular boy. She's telling you, call any boy. And it works. But on the other hand, if she'll tell you, call the boy who disturbed you in the morning. So she's basically telling you that you're supposed to call the boy who disturbed you in the morning. The specific boy who disturbed you. Can't really bring any random boy now. That scope is limited. So that's how articles help us. So just what I told you, on the basis of just what I told you, we can actually divide the articles into two very simple categories. Definite article, which includes only the word the, and indefinite articles, where we have a and an. Alright, now I'll just skip one slide because I don't think so it's very relevant in this context here. What we will do is, we'll talk about how do we use a and an. Okay, so now we have to use the indefinite articles properly. We have to make sure that I'm using a when it's required, I'm using an when it's required. So now a and an fall in one category. When something falls in one particular category, you have to look for the difference also, you have to look for the similarity also. A and an, there is one similarity also in these words. So what is that similarity? That they are always used along with the singular noun. They are used with the singular noun, and they are chucked when we have a plural noun. We don't use them along with a plural noun. So suppose I have a book. Okay, fine, I'll use a, that's fine because I have one single book. But if suppose I have a lot of books, so I will not say I have a books, because what I will do is I'll just eliminate this a. Why? Because the noun is plural here. Okay, and you have restricted me in the first point only, that I can only use singular nouns. Okay, yeah. So that is one thing. That is the point of similarity between both of them. Now we'll see the point of difference. Now if we have two things, a and an, so how would I know that when a is suitable, how an is suitable? You are telling me that they are supposed to be used with singular, but you also have to tell me the point of difference. Okay, so we'll try to understand it very nicely, that a is used with the sound of consonant. Please mind, sound of consonant. And an is used with the sound of a vowel. So we have 5 vowels, a, e, I, o, u, and all the others are consonant. So with the sound of all the others, I'll use a. With the sound of all the vowels, I will use an.